Welcome to More Than Renovating, a Renovate and Real Estate podcast. Our founder, Belinda Smith, talks to industry experts to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to make renovating for love and profit your reality. Belinda will also chat to some of her Renovation Mastery members, who are just everyday people doing extraordinary things, following their passions in the renovation and property space. So, let's jump straight into the episode. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Belinda Smith from Renovate and Real Estate, and today with me on this podcast, More Than Renovating, I have my special guest, Amanda Bird. Amanda is from Transforming Squares, that is the name of her company, and today we're going to talk to Amanda about renovating, about launching a consultancy business, about why people work with consultants, and about women in renovation in general. So hello Amanda, how are you? Thank you for joining me.
Hey Belinda, great to speak to you.
So I've seen your journey over the last few years, really. What are you working on right now?
Just finished a project on the Gold Coast, a cosmetic renovation. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. We've, really, I suppose, brought it up to current in regards to design, reshaped the kitchen and really made it look a lot more modern than it was back in the 90s.
And so that was an investment property that you purchased, or was it a joint venture agreement with somebody else? What's the structure of that deal?
It's a joint venture project with a lady that I know from Sydney.
Yeah.
So we have gone pretty much 50-50 in regards to the purchase of the property, and she's managing certain aspects and I'm managing the renovation.
How exciting is that? So you'll get a split of the profit from a deal like that.
That's right.
Your own house?
My own house, yes. We bought this property back in 2019 with a vision to, do some work to it. It was a sort of tired 80s home, brick home. So we've done a fair bit. We sort of got caught up in COVID over a couple of years there because that came in 2020 roughly. So we have held for a period of time and now looking at moving on to something new and another renovation project as well.
You like to do this, don't you? You go from one to the next.
Yeah, look, I enjoy seeing projects come to fruition, especially things that are a little bit older and dated. And generally, I have a bit of a vision that, I can implement with some of these things.
You do really pretty renovations, but I also know that you know very well where to spend the money. It's really quite obvious when I look at your work where you've had to pull back or made yourself pull back and where you've created something that's really pretty to catch the eye of potential buyers.
Yeah, so we focus a lot, obviously, on those key areas that always sell homes, such as kitchens and bathrooms. But, they're obviously, your budget is your budget. So, we have to be a little bit liberal in some aspects there. But I think I got a good tip from yourself some years ago about being about, maybe shopping at a lower end for clothing, but because it's the way you dress it up to make it look more appealing. So I always keep that in my mind, and we're really looking to style really well so that the products sell as well.
Yeah, it is all about the mixing and the matching and getting that combination just right. And also it makes your home look a little bit different, not same as everybody else's. All right, so can you walk our listeners through the typical process of working with your renovation business, like inside your business, from, say, when you first meet someone and have an initial consultation right through to project completion? What does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I would usually meet face to face with somebody that had shown an interest in working with me just to get an understanding of what they're trying to achieve. That generally is followed up by 1 or 2 meetings at the site so that we can really discuss and get down into the detail of the project. So it's really important from my perspective to really understand where things are in the home itself. It's very difficult to do that if you're really just abstract from the actual project. So we get on site, we have a talk about what the client is trying to achieve, and obviously I'll throw some ideas out there as well. Then we're confirming really the expectations of the client. So, what level of finishes are they looking for? What is their budget? Do they have any understanding of budget? Some people don't have an understanding of how much things can cost. And as we're moving through these phases of after COVID, things have gone up in price. So often people ask are surprised at the amount that things are costing currently. So I'll give some rough costs and generally follow those discussions up with a draft document that just really confirms what I have heard and making sure that I'm understanding what was discussed, as well as the client is understanding as well, that we're both on the same page. From there, if the client wanted to move forward further, we've done rough costs. I would then do a timeline and a confirmed scope document so that they're clear in regards to the sort of costs that they'd be, outputting, and also what sort of time that would take. If that was all signed off, it would be put onto a contract with Transforming Squares. The client would then sign that contract off and we would look to commence the project. Obviously, I would have lined up trades involved in that, and we'll confirm our timelines and the trades that are coming on site on a day-to-day basis. And then really just working through the coordination of that project, any issues, anything that needs to be looked at, keeping the client informed on a weekly basis by way of emails as well as phone conversations, through to project completion and handover.
So your background is in organisation. You're in corporate, right?
Was corporate, that's right, yes.
Was corporate. And so for you to be able to see what's coming and set the expectations of your client and organise trades and just get really involved comes fairly naturally to you. And I'm going to put it out there, comes quite naturally to a lot of people who are listening to this podcast right now, who might not necessarily have the confidence to take those skills and move forward into renovating. All right, so let's double back. When you're working with a client or you're setting up a joint venture with someone, what factors do you consider when you're evaluating a potential project, a renovation project? And how do you determine whether the project aligns with your expertise and capabilities?
Okay, so first it comes down to obviously walking through the project itself, as we just discussed. And then I would actually put it back to it's the capabilities of the trades I'm having involved in the project. So this isn't me doing the work. This is actually the trades doing the work and me working with those trades to make sure we're getting the right result. So I would be determining if we're talking about something that's just a cosmetic renovation, so bathrooms, updating, paint, new kitchen, that sort of thing, or whether we're talking about something that's more involved, such as adding a bathroom or more structural work, and then getting the people that need to be involved so that we can make sure that we can bring the right outcome to the table. Including in that is obviously finishes and understanding what sort of level of finishes that the client wants, colour palette, etc.
And part of that too, I'm assuming, is getting your client to understand the renovation, as in what to expect and in what order and how big the project might be, and whether their budget or the budget they've set will actually cover the amount of work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do find that some people are not aware of either time frames or the cost involved. So that can be often a little bit of a surprise for people. So we do talk about that up front as well, or as close to up front as we possibly can. Obviously, you've got to understand the full scope of the works first. But yeah, we try and get those things out of the way as quickly as possible so that people don't feel like they're wasting their time if they don't have enough budget or they want something that's quicker than the actual expectation.
Yeah, so communication is really important. So for listeners interested in hiring a renovation consultant or a renovation contractor, what advice do you have for effectively communicating your vision, their vision, and goals for the project?
Yeah, sure. I find visuals are really good. So Pinterest is a really good place to start. So often people have an understanding of, I want it to look like this, or I've seen these things online, or I've seen something at Bunnings, or I've seen, so bringing those things to the table so visually we can really communicate and understand what they're trying to achieve. And then it really comes down to being open and discussing the project as a whole and the expectation of budget, again, in regards to what level of finishes, whether that budget lines up with those finishes, is often one. And also how flexible they are with finishes, etc. as well, I find, because often you may be able to get the same result with maybe slightly cheaper products. That doesn't mean to say they're inferior, but you don't necessarily, as an example, need to spend $2,000 on a vanity if you can get the same result for something that costs $800. So having those considerations and being open to maybe those suggestions is going to go a long way to getting a good result, and also making sure your money goes as far as it can as well.
Some people have very certain things in their mind, are inflexible, which can make it difficult. But I think when you show people the pictures and what they can get as an alternative product and how it might work, and also some people look at all of the high-end product online and think that they can pop that into their house. It mightn't suit their own home, or more importantly, it just might be just not achievable. For example, I fell in love with these lights online yesterday, sent off an email. They didn't have their price online, so I thought this will be interesting. Sent off an email, 4,200 trade. That was my trade price, 4,200 per wall sconce.
Wow.
So I've seen them installed in people's homes in magazines. So it's very easy to fall in love with something like that without the understanding of how much more expensive those wall sconces are compared to ones that I've just looked at today at Beacon or another local electrical place,
Exactly
where
right.
I saw a really nice wall sconce for $58.
Yes,
So
that's right. But also how long you may be staying in the home as well. Is this your forever home where you don't see yourself, moving, or is this something that, is a stepping stone to something more, larger over the next couple of years?
All of that. And some people have and are willing to spend probably more than they should on their own home. And that's
Correct.
right. But
Yeah, absolutely. That's right.
Yeah.
It really depends. We also work with JV sellers. So
Yeah.
in that example, these people are maybe have an investment property and are looking to maybe give it a cosmetic uplift prior to then selling to be able to maximize their profit. So in that example, you would be looking for things that give that wow factor, but not necessarily at the same cost.
Yeah, perfect. That's a perfect thing to. It's actually quite a skill. It's actually quite a skill to be able to do that, substitute product and have it look just as high end and have people not notice, particularly ones who are a little bit astute and who might look for it. Could you provide examples of the types of renovation projects your business specializes in, and any unique services or offerings that you provide that set you apart from other renovation consultants or contractors?
We provide a variety of renovations. We do a lot of cosmetic, but saying that, we have also done things like adding bathrooms, so leveraging laundry space and using them to add an ensuite as an example. So a lot of the older homes only have one bathroom, so obviously the modern day requirement is having an ensuite as well. And opening up floor plans as well. So often with the 80s style house, such as this house, lots of walls blocking off kitchens from dining rooms and lounges. So obviously getting, structural engineers, etc., involved and looking at possibilities of opening up those walls so that there's more of a flow. Yeah, so those are the sorts of things that we do, but we're not fussy really. We're really looking, as I previously said, for a contemporary look and, whatever that takes based on the property that's presented.
Yeah, so what you're starting with and then just turning that into a product that's really appealing for 2024, 5, 6 and beyond.
Correct.
Yeah. So if something comes to you and it's really wildly difficult, do you get the opportunity to say yes or no? Or are you up for the challenge? Like, what do you think about something that's really a big, big project?
Look, I think it all comes down to scope, because at the end of the day, I would say that it's, I'm not doing the work, the trades are doing the work. So it's about scope and budget, and whether it's achievable within the budget, what it will end up, looking like, and whether it's going to be resold or not is a key to that, because obviously the feasibility of doing the work comes down to, where your profit lies at the end of the day as well. So I wouldn't say no. It really would depend what it is and what challenges were involved. So we did a large project a few years ago, which was probably the largest that I've done so far, and that was cosmetic, but also a lot of external work as well, with an older building which did have termite damage. So, I think it's about being aware of what you're taking on and understanding the risks and mitigating as many risks as you can.
So, with regard to that, what's your approach to project management and ensuring that things get completed on time? And how do you keep the clients informed and involved throughout the renovation process?
Yeah, sure. Really key, obviously. So we would put together a project timeline or a schedule and make sure that we're sticking to that schedule the trades to that schedule as well, and communicate that schedule with our clients. Then I usually make sure, depending on the location of the client, I usually make sure that I either meet them or call them on the phone on a weekly basis to provide an update, and follow that up with an email update as well. So I go through what has been achieved within the current week, what is being focused on for the future week, next week,
Yeah.
and also any challenges or roadblocks that we're seeing. And often that could just be, I've got a trade who maybe, has called in sick, so I've got to move, a few people around.
Along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, because obviously everything's consecutive. And I do try when it comes down to, any issues, and present an outcome as well. So not just I have this issue, this is what I'm doing to actually address it. So the client feels safe and secure and confident that it's not a problem. It's an issue that's being addressed, and we're working through it.
So, communication is a key skill for this, both working with trades, organising the renovation from that perspective, but also keeping any joint venture partners or clients in the loop as you're going along.
Yeah, absolutely. Very key. Because at the end of the day, people are spending, their hard-earned money, be that, through an investment process or even in their own home. And, they need to feel secure that they're, they've made the right decisions and things are progressing well, especially if they're not part of a renovation type or a trades type business, because that can be overwhelming for some people. So they don't need that level of stress. They need to feel like the person that they've appointed is doing the job and is capable of doing it.
Yeah, and that person who they've employed to do the work, if there's anything that comes up that's just a little bit worrisome, deals with it then and there and has that problem or that issue solved so
Yes,
that
correct.
the project continues.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you handle unexpected challenges during a renovation?
So, they often occur. Renovations are, often a little bit, it can be like Pandora's box, depending on
Yeah.
what you're doing. If you're not opening any walls or anything like that, it may be fine. But I've been in situations where, you've opened a wall up and you're not, you were prepared for what you're seeing. So, ultimately these things do happen, and it really is about doing the right thing for the project and obviously the client as well in regards to how you address the issue. So I think open and upfront communication, as you've just mentioned, is really key in that. So understanding what the problem is, having a solution to address the problem, and an understanding of the cost and timeline that is going to incur, and then communicating that accordingly to the client to make sure that they're aware of it, and being open and upfront, I think is very key.
If somebody's not renovated before and they're your client, how do you find their time expectations?
Yeah, that can be a bit of a challenge sometimes. It
Maybe
can be.
maybe they watch The Block and all those television shows where things get done in 2 days.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be a bit of flexibility there for time and also budget. So there needs to be an understanding that, like any business, people can call in sick, just like that, or often something happens in people's lives that might be a trade, and that often can push a timeline out by a certain period of time. So a level of flexibility, and I would generally try and outline or highlight that in my discussions, that it maybe is a buffer needs to be allowed there from an expectation perspective.
Yeah. What are the types of clients you typically work with? Describe your typical client, if there is one.
Oh, I don't know that there's a typical one. They come in all sorts of shapes and
We all do, don't we?
Look, from the homeowner who's looking to revamp their bathroom, to a investor who's looking to invest funds in a project with good feasibility, to a homeowner who wants to cosmetically redo their whole house, to a joint venture seller who's looking to on sell their home but doesn't want to sell it under market value because it's tired and worn out.
Yeah, yeah. And are there any specific requirements or any criteria that they should be aware of before they call you up and perhaps engage your services?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think it's more about expectation setting. So
Yeah,
some of those things just generally fall out in the conversation. Ability in mindset probably is one that I would say is helpful because,
yeah.
as we've just said, things don't always
Go to plan.
go to plan. But otherwise, just a good understanding of what they're trying to achieve is the right place to start.
Why do you think women, and I've seen a lot of women do exceptionally well at renovating, why do you think that is?
Um,
If we're going to just divide the society into two or more these days, two or
I
more?
think that this is a very broad brush response because I don't
That's right.
necessarily think that all men are, I think that women generally have a natural ability for maybe design and coordination, but I would then, preface that by saying that, some men may also have, that ability as well. So
Agree. And some women can juggle a lot of balls in the air at the same time that they're naturally used to doing. But then again, so can some blokes.
yeah, exactly right.
I really think that renovating is an equal opportunity sport. I know that everybody's heard me say that many, many times, but I think that sometimes women think that they need a partner involved or they need to be doing this with a spouse by their side. Amanda, you work in this business. This is your business.
That's right.
That
I
was
do. To be fair, my husband.
Yeah, that's right.
My husband does help me from time
Yeah,
to time.
yeah.
But, you can always find somebody to assist you if you need something done as a woman or a man. So, if he's at work, as an example, then I would be looking, at Airtasker or something similar to find, what I need if it's, a lifting task or something that I couldn't achieve myself.
Yeah, agree. 100% agree. All right, for anybody listening who would like to work with you or at least contact you, what's the best way for them to find you, to get in touch and start
Look,
the process of a conversation?
I have a website. It's transformingsquares.com.au. It's my company. Email transformingsquares@gmail.com. And my phone number's on my website as well. So, have a look there. There's a lot of projects from the last few years listed on the website. So more than happy to take a call and have a chat.
Thank you, Amanda. Amanda comes highly recommended from me. She really knows what she's doing. She knows how to create beautiful spaces. She knows how to transform squares. It's just a super duper competent lady. So thanks so much, Amanda, for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks, Belinda.